Hola captains, today we'll be speaking about something what might make Duolingo Bird a little bit happier: Spanish cruisers. The Castilla line is all about mobility, flexible range control and burst fire. You've got HE shells that can very easily light up enemies and have a very good pen, AP shells with even better improved pen, it's very close to the ones of the Moskva, and the burst fire mode that just says hola hola with two salvos in a very quick succession, because once just isn't enough. These ships were born to keep enemies at a distance, but don't be fooled, when the time is right, they can push and brawl it out, especially with that icebreaker nose, keeping you intact from overmatch. In terms of armor, Castilla and friends come with very nicely rounded citadel with 40mm icebreaker on the nose, and it extends also on the stern, but not entirely, so great for bouncing AP from close distance when angled. But there is one major downside: the 30mm midsection makes you very vulnerable to SAP and large caliber shells, especially 457s and 460s. Of course, Satsuma is also there with 510s. So you always need to be on the lookout for those specific ships. However, you're very fast, just like charging bull in a certain holiday in Spain. 37 knots stock, without any possibilities of actually improving that like engine boost, but you can always mount the flag, right? It makes Castilla the fastest tier 10 cruiser in the game when we do not apply any of those modifiers. The speed makes it excellent at repositioning, dodging enemy shells and torpedoes, but the ship is very long, making it turn pretty poorly with rather shape of a battleship. In terms of armament, you have something very spicy. The main battery is your pan con mantequilla. Cringe. Big caliber is what makes those guns really good. HE has more than decent pen, fire chance and alpha damage. AP has a high pen and pretty decent alpha. You cannot really citadel battleships with this, but you can really get some pens. The catch is that you don't really have much range. You can get some help with that using your spotter plane, but even with its help and your high speed might be that you run out of range way too easily. But the real spice is the burst fire mode. Upon clicking it, you can fire two salvos back to back, letting you dump a ton of shells in a very short window. Great for catching ships off guard, finishing low HP targets, or just sending a message to enemy battleship that you shouldn't give broadside to me. The downside is that the reload after the burst fire is just slightly longer than if you fired those salvos normally, so you need to use it wisely. Troops are also present on the ship, however they have very short range, so they're basically there to roll out enemy ships. In terms of AA is mediocre at best, and ASFW is standard cruiser one, so it's garbage. For consumables, you get Hydra on defensive AA, just take the Hydra, defensive AA is useless. Previously mentioned spotter plane or fighter, do not bother with the fighter. Standard DCP and normal heal. Nothing fancy, but it can get the job done. Okay, now let's quickly go over upgrades and captain build. For upgrades, I just go for the standard build for cruiser, you can experiment with either going for a propulsion or the rudder shift. I go for a rudder shift, it's my personal preference, both upgrades are good. Honestly, apart from HP flag, all flags are optional here. In terms of captain build, here is when the things get a little bit tricky. As you probably see, this is my build that I'm using, and the numbers say you the priority of the perks you should consider. And as you can see, there are two numbers that are duplicated, the 6th and the 7th. So the green one is the one that I'm gonna go for, and the light blue ones are the alternatives that are basically based on your preference. You can take either of them and it won't make much difference in terms of performance of the ship. It's just based solely on what you like. In terms of gameplay plan, well, Castilla line cruisers aren't picky about the range you engage enemies with. The key is to know when to commit based on the enemies present. If you have a lot of enemies on the flank, or they are the direct counters to you, start by kiting and playing it safe in the early game. Otherwise, you can get more aggressive, but stay on mid-range so you can always bail out. This is not the ship that can tank all day like a Petropavlovsk. In mid to late game, consider pushing with your allies and never alone. You can very quickly get the flank down and surprise enemies from behind thanks to your speed. The trick is to knowing when to kite and when to commit. These ships thrive on adaptation. And before we go even further, I'm gonna need to give you some thoughts about the burst fire. We saw this mechanic already on multiple ships. In games for Spanish cruisers, it does not come with modified shells like Annapolis or Conde, so the gun parameters do not change. You just lose a few seconds on the reload compared if you fired the two salvos normal. So use it when you need to actually finish off a target, or the DCP just ended and they are about to go dark, so you want to set them on fire again. And when you have the perfect site for you to exploit, or when you need to kill them right there and right now, because your life depends on it. Hey guys, can like always click like and subscribe, like it really helps me out, thank you. Okay, now let's analyze an example of a game. In this match I spawned on this flank and I went for some early game shots at this cruiser, which worked out pretty perfectly as he was really trying to just get back to port very fast. After which I've noticed that there is a submarine, so I had to actually go back a little bit and push from a different angle. I tried to eliminate this DT with a burst fire, however some of my shots missed, so he lived on very little HP. This is the worst case scenario when you're using your fire button. However, he was still dumb enough to keep firing, so I finished him off afterwards. I tried to finish another target with my burst fire, and again some of my shots bounced, so they didn't really get the job done. However, I still had my allies to cover for it. Obviously my DD had to potato like this, but thanks to its sacrifice I used a smoke screen to approach this battleship from a very unexpected angle. thanks to my very nice plating, this Shimba borderline stood no chance. So I finished him off very quickly and went back into the fight as most of my team were already gone. After torturing this battleship a little bit with HE and AP, he died to a submarine, unfortunately not me, so I was left in a 1v1 with Dyson. Dyson doesn't have caliber to overmatch me, so I could just sit in this angle and farm him up a little bit with HE before I make my turn. And why exactly did I not push into him? Well, he has torpedoes that are better than mine, he has secondaries, and he still can just kill me with fires as I don't really have heal left. So kiting was the correct choice. I got also an overwhelming trigger in my head, like Spidey sense, that I'm about to be topped, so I actually went a little bit slower, which actually saved me. I shook the plate so that the Dyson has to either dodge my shells or dodge the submarine torpedoes, which he didn't. We were heavily losing on points. The points are inverted in the replay for some whatever reason, so I had to make sure we still get this cap, so I had to actually push back in. And I was a little bit surprised that he did not try to gun me down in the end, since that was his only chance he could actually win this. If he got 2 fires in quick succession, I would be gone. However, this game turned out to be a very good clutch. Couple tips for the summary. First, you need to use your best fire smartly. Open up with a surprise, but don't rely on it as your main source of dealing damage. You're gonna be much more consistent shooting normally and using it in perfect scenarios. Abuse your speed, reposition often, play on flanks, rotate pressure, you can do it. You're very maneuverable in terms of that, so abuse it. Switch between shell types, HE and AP. Don't stay on one ammo type. Both of ammo types are usable, you have pretty good caliber, so when, for example, see a flat cruiser on a broadside BB, just give them a little bit of good old stuff. And last, play of distractions. You're not a radar cruiser, so let someone else do the spotting, and you focus on dealing damage. Like, this Trump did not expect me to blind fire him after my submarine minimap spotted him. Like, could he actually predict that? Not really. Like, what should he expect? Somewhat Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
So to sum things up, the Castilla line is a very high tempo, high impact damage farming cruiser that rewards your awareness, corrective playing of speed, and burst damage. It's not the easiest line, but once you get a feel for the pacing, when to kite, when to push, when to reposition, you'll be dancing on the battlefield like you're some flamenco dancer. Thanks you guys so much for watching. If you want more, obviously you can like and subscribe this video, that will help me out a ton. You can also leave some comments asking if you have any questions or do you want some specific video to be made. Hasta luego, captains. Silent out.